Good morning and welcome back to the Space Shuttle Flight Control Room. We have one more guest for you tonight to tell you a little bit about what goes on behind the scenes here in the Mission Control Center. This time we've got James O'Connor, and let's see, he's with the Hawkeye console, but this is another one that I'm not even going to try to give you the acronym for, so why don't you give it to us?
Yeah, Hawkeye is actually a combination of physics terms that get kind of added together to kind of make a word, so it doesn't stand for any particular phrase. It's actually like angular momentum, acceleration, that kind of stuff. It takes these little equation terms and strings them together, so it's kind of interesting in that regard, kind of unique.
All the acronyms that we already have aren't enough. This doesn't even actually stand for actual words.
Nope, it actually goes to show that how far we'll go just to create something that sounds cool.
Well, Hawkeye does sound cool, so why don't you instead explain for us what you actually do?
Well, a Hawkeye console is actually a backroom console for the ADCO console, which is a front room console in the ISS Vicar. And
Vicar being flight control
room. And what we do basically is I support ADCO in all of the daily operations, planning.
Real quick, ADCO?
ADCO is Attitude Determination Control Officer. And so ADCO in general, we work on the maneuvers and the attitude, basically the orientation of the ISS in space. And so we are always trying to monitor where we are, where we will be in the future, and plan for all the upcoming activities like dockings, undockings, all the different vehicle traffic we have going on, which is especially heavy right now.
And we talked about it a little bit a couple of interviews ago, but why don't you tell us real quick before we get too much further why it's important to know what way the vehicle's facing? I mean, it doesn't matter to the astronauts, right? They don't have up or down once they're in space.
Yeah, well, as far as the astronauts are concerned, when they're inside, they don't really have any physical sense of where they are in space or how the station is oriented besides what they can see out the windows. So, like, their biggest landmarker is the Earth. So, depending on how we're oriented in space, the Earth will show up in different places in their windows. But as far as the station as a whole is concerned, it's actually a very significant contributor to like thermal heating, cooling, that kind of stuff, because the side that's facing the sun's going to get really hot, the side that's not going to get really cold. And we have very tight tolerances on what can get hot and cold, so we have to make sure we control where we're facing very well.
Am I remembering correctly that it's a difference of like plus or minus 275 degrees between between sun and shadow? Does that sound right?
It sounds right to me, but honestly, I'm not a thermal guy, so.
Okay, but so that's why it matters, because you want some things to stay in the sun or not, or things like that.
And things like that. We also want to make sure we maintain good communication with our satellites. So if we know where we are, then we can know where and we know where the satellites are. We can give the antennas, dishes, the data that they need to point in the right direction, so we can talk to the astronauts and tell them where we are.
Okay, so that's what the Attitude Determination and Control console is all about. But you actually work or you work there sometimes, right?
Yeah, I'm fully certified to work both the front room and the back room positions.
Okay, so let's say, what exactly is a back room here at Mission Control?
A back room is someone who is kind of behind the scenes, supporting the people who are in the rooms with all the big boards and everything like that. The ones you see on TV, those are the rock stars. We're kind of the groupies of the back rooms, the roadies. So we're helping out with doing a lot of the planning, a lot of the technical work. We watch the data very, very closely so that when ADCO is doing all the coordination, talking to the flight director and the other control members of the group, that they don't have to worry so much that there's not eyes on the system. So that's what we're there for, to help out with all the activity planning and monitoring and failure analysis.
So y'all do all the work and they get all the glory? Is that it?
No, they share it with us very, very graciously. So it's always a pleasure to work with everyone.
Okay, so what do y'all do in this back room?
For my particular back room, right now we're working on the undocking plan. So we're getting everything ready for the shuttle undocking, which is in just a few days. And it's a very busy time, especially for ADCO, because we have a lot of maneuvers and everything. So we're working on verifying all of our activities, our plan. We can make sure that everyone's on the same page, that we have communication for that time frame and all that kind of stuff. It's very, very challenging and exciting.
Let's see, docking is, 2 days away still, so that's...
Undocking, yeah.
Yeah, undocking. Thank goodness. So y'all work pretty far ahead, it sounds like?
Yeah, actually, we're already planning activities that are going to be taking place after the shuttle undocks, like some of the HTV activities and everything like that. So we're always trying to keep our eyes on the future while making sure that we're watching what's going on right now.
So, so for undocking, what do you need to plan for how the station's oriented for that?
One of the first things that we're going to do is the station's actually built up of multiple parts. So we have the Russian side and we have the U.S. side, and we both control attitude in very different ways. So one of the first things that we're going to be doing is we're taking the control on the U.S. segment, which is non-propulsive. We use large gyroscopes for that, and handing over to the Russian segment, which use thrusters. So we're going to be transitioning control to the Russian segment. Then we're going to maneuver on those Russian thrusters. Oh, I'm sorry, actually, we're maneuvering on VRCS thrusters on the shuttle. So we're actually going to hand over to the shuttle to use their thrusters so we can save prop on the Russian side. And then the shuttle will maneuver us.
Prop being propellant basically
sorry,
gas
yes.
for them, right?
Yes. And so they'll maneuver us to the undocking attitude so that they can be ready to undock. So once we're in attitude, then the shuttle will hold attitude for us.
How do you decide what attitude it needs to be?
We always dock and undock in 000. So basically, we take a reference frame and we set a baseline, and that is the docking and undocking attitude, and then we modify from there. So we get all of our analysis and everything run to ensure that we're undocking in the same attitude every time.
So how long have you been doing this?
I started as a co-op in 2004 and came on full-time with NASA in 2007.
Tell me about what's a co-op.
Well, a co-op is someone who's in school still, and they're working one semester in school, going through all the classes and everything like that, and then the next semester they come and work for a program like NASA. So I was actually alternating every semester between going to school at UT in the fall and then in the spring coming to NASA. So it was pretty interesting, kind of flip-flopping back and forth and taking two very different roles at education.
So you started working for NASA before you even graduated.
Yep, that's correct.
That's a nice summer job.
Yeah, it's, I couldn't believe it when they told me that they were going to bring me to NASA and pay me to do something that I would have paid them to let me do.
Well, so how did you start out? Were you, making coffee and stuff, or was it actual work?
No, actually, it was very interesting. When I came on, they brought me in and they said, hey, what we're going to do is we're going to try something new. Usually the co-ops go around and they try one semester in a different group, just kind of getting a sense of what they like. So if they get hired on full time, they'll know what they want to do. But they said, for you, what we're going to do is we're going to bring you on, and if you like ADCO, you can stay here for all of your tours. And so I did 3 separate semesters here in the ADCO group. And I loved it so much. I was like, yes, give me more tours. And so I started working on a little bit of my training flow, so that the idea was when I started full-time, I'd be a little bit more ready to go into the training flow. But I ended up working on so many projects and side items that I wouldn't say it helped me get certified any faster. But I definitely enjoyed the work I did. And when I came on full-time, I knew so much about the group and who I'd be working with, what I'd be doing, that it really helped me hit the ground running.
So you're basically a rocket scientist before you even graduated college.
I guess you could say that.
If I insist, huh? So you said once you got a taste of it, you decided you loved ADCO, or attitude, determination, and control.
Yes.
What was it about it?
I just really like the people. Like the group itself was really interesting. We have, in general, the age demographic is very low. People about my age, college graduates, and just a few years beyond that. So it's very relatively young group. I really enjoyed working with the people I had, and then the kind of work that we do. Basically piloting a space station. If anyone could be considered the pilots of the space station, I suppose it could be us. So it was really interesting to kind of say, all these orbital mechanics classes and things that I'm taking and working on in school, directly applying those to something that NASA does. It was just really, really amazing.
All right. So I guess it sounds like you've been pretty happy with your decision.
Oh yes, I wouldn't go back.
Did you proactively seek out something at NASA when you were in college, or did you just come across it?
I actually did a quick interview with United Space Alliance when I was...
It's one of our major contractors?
Yes, United Space Alliance is a contractor, and did an interview with them at one of the job fairs that we had at UT, and got a call back, and they wanted to do an interview with me, and it just ended up working really well. So I was actually surprised at how quickly it went and how smooth the process was once I got that first call back. But I would definitely just say, for anyone who's interested, put yourself out there and talk to people, go to these fairs, and get your resume out there so that you can have an opportunity like this present itself.
Let's see, you said you were in college around 2003, so you're probably about the same age of the shuttle, maybe a little younger? going back, if it started in '81?
Yeah, I was born in '83, so it's probably a little older than me, but it's an amazing vehicle, and it's still amazing that we're operating as efficiently as we are. Just in my time at NASA, starting as a co-op, I came in while we were still recovering from the Columbia accident, and so seeing NASA grow from that, return to flight, and then go into its new evolution has been really amazing. Just to see everything NASA's gone through in the last just several years.
And what about watching it now get ready to retire? How do you feel about that?
It makes me a little sad. Working these shuttle missions is something that's kind of a very unique thing that we as ADCO do because we man the space station 24/7, so we're always working that. But shuttle missions are always very unique when you're working with two control rooms and two control teams in the same building, and the system just gets twice as complex. And so it's really, really, really interesting to see these missions, and it's going to be very sad to see them go because there's nothing quite like it.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming over and talking with us. We really appreciate it.
I'm happy to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
This is again James O'Connor talking with us from the Hawkeye console of the International Space Station Flight Control Team. We'll go back now to live coverage on NASA TV. This is Mission Control Houston.